They sense your strength, and that terrified them. But they wouldn't simply walk away, would they? No, not narcissists. When they realize you're no longer under their control, they don't retreat quietly. They unleash one final, calculated trick. The kind of psychological ambush Carl Jung warned us about. A trick so damaging it can unravel months, even years of emotional recovery in a matter of weeks. Carl Jung uncovered something deeply disturbing about narcissists, something most people don't recognize until it's too late. It's not when they're charming that you should worry. It's when they know they've lost their grip on you. That's when they play their most dangerous card, and if you're not aware of it, you'll walk straight into their trap, believing you've simply changed, when in reality you're being manipulated all over again. But before we expose this final dirty trick, we need to understand the battleground it's played on. Jung believed the narcissist's worst fear isn't being left behind. It's facing someone they can no longer dominate. Rejection doesn't shake them nearly as much as the moment their chosen victim becomes emotionally and psychologically stronger than they are. According to Jung's work on the shadow self, narcissists survive by projecting their own insecurities and failures onto others. It's their way of maintaining a fragile illusion of superiority. But when you begin to heal, when you stop reacting, start setting boundaries, and refuse to dance to their emotional games, that illusion begins to crack. This moment of awakening is what Jung referred to as the power inversion crisis. And what comes next is something few are prepared for. You see, narcissists aren't searching for love the way others are. They're searching for supply, emotional energy, admiration, obedience. It's not companionship they want, it's control. Carl Jung identified that they operate from what he termed an inflated ego, a distorted psychological state that compels them to assert dominance constantly, just to avoid confronting the void inside them. When you were vulnerable, doubting yourself, or endlessly trying to please them, you were perfect. You fed their ego, validated their worth, and played your role in their fantasy. But the moment you stepped into your own power, when you stopped seeking approval and trusted your inner compass, you ceased being useful. You became dangerous, a threat to their constructed identity. And that's when they reach for the weapon Jung warned us all about. Narcissists, Jung noted, use psychological projection warfare when they feel their control slipping. This isn't your typical gaslighting. It's not the same tired victim act. This is a calculated psychological assault, one designed to sabotage what Jung called your individuation process, your journey toward becoming your authentic self. So, how does this psychological warfare look in practice, and why is it so hard to detect? They start by attacking the very thing that makes you strong, your growth. Think about it. For years, they criticized your flaws, mocked your insecurities. But now, they change tactics completely. Now, it's your strengths they go after. Jung believed this shift happens because they've identified your inner strength as the final barrier standing between them and total control. It's no longer your weakness they want to manipulate. It's your empowerment they want to dismantle. They'll say things that twist your transformation into something ugly. You've changed, and not in a good way. You used to be so caring. Now you're just cold. Success has made you arrogant. You think you're better than everyone. It sounds personal, doesn't it? That's because it is. Jung's analysis revealed that these attacks are never random. They're deliberate strikes aimed at the parts of yourself you've worked hardest to rebuild. You set boundaries, they call you cold. You found your voice, they label you aggressive. You gain confidence, they accuse you of being full of yourself. This tactic is what Jung called strength shaming. Its purpose is simple but cruel, to make you question and eventually abandon the very traits that are setting you free. But believe it or not, the real dirty trick is still ahead. Carl Jung discovered that when strength shaming fails to break you, narcissists escalate to their most deceptive tactic yet, a manipulative tactic cloaked in sentimentality. Narcissists deploy what he termed nostalgic manipulation. They start reminiscing about the old you, the version of yourself that was easier to control. They begin softly, with comments that sound harmless at first, almost nostalgic. But beneath their gentle tone lies a familiar manipulation. Remember when you used to laugh at my jokes? You were so much happier before you started reading all those self-help books. I miss the person you used to be. We had such a good relationship before you changed. To the untrained ear, these phrases may sound like heartfelt longing. But Carl Jung called this behavior exactly what it is: psychical time travel. It's not a celebration of the past. It's a subtle psychological trick, a way of luring you back into the older version of yourself, the one who was easier to mold, easier to influence, easier to keep under control. They aren't grieving who you are now. They're grieving the version of you that didn't resist them, the version that asked for permission instead of asserting boundaries. And if you're not vigilant, that sentimental trap can start to pull at your own memory. You begin wondering, was I really happier back then? Did things really change because of me? But that's exactly what makes this manipulation so dangerous. And as Jung's research reveals, it doesn't stop there. They're not missing the real you, they're missing the controllable you. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself longing for that earlier self, the one who felt safer because they never said no. But this is just the first layer of deception. According to Carl Jung, when strength shaming and nostalgic manipulation both fail, narcissists escalate to their most calculated and devastating tactic: manufactured vulnerability. They don't argue. They don't lash out. They become fragile, helpless, and perfectly timed in their pain. Jung observed that narcissists are highly skilled at identifying what stirs your compassion the most and then using it as a tool of control. They will suddenly appear overwhelmed or in crisis, just as you're gaining ground, just as you're finally finding peace. This, Jung warned, is the true dirty trick, and it's far more sinister than it seems, because the crisis they present, it's not always real, or at least not entirely. It could be a health scare, a financial disaster, family drama, or a personal breakdown, but no matter the form it takes, it always seems to arrive when you're doing well, when you're emotionally strong, when you've finally begun choosing yourself. Coincidence? Not likely. According to Jung, these moments are meticulously planned. Narcissists keep mental records. They know exactly what makes you feel guilty, what triggers your desire to help, and what causes you to abandon your own emotional safety net. They don't just manipulate your kindness, they weaponize your empathy against your healing. And here's the most unsettling part of all: they often create the very crisis they claim to suffer from. Jung found that narcissists frequently sabotage their own lives, damaging their careers, relationships, health, or well-being, just to create a scenario that forces you to respond. It's not misfortune, it's strategy. Why did they do this? According to Jung's findings, it serves two clear purposes. First, it pulls you right back into the caretaker role. Second, it reassures them that they still have power over your choices. But it gets even darker. Jung discovered that the goal isn't just to win your help, it's to make you sacrifice the very progress you've made. They want more than your support. They want your surrender. And how do they get it? By asking you to violate your own values. They'll say things like, "I know you don't usually lend money, but this time is different. I know you said you needed space, but I really need you right now. I know you're focusing on yourself, but couldn't you help me just this once?" Each of these carefully worded pleas, Jung noted, is crafted to chip away at your boundaries, to reopen the emotional gates you've spent so long reinforcing. And here's what they're really doing. They're not asking for help. They're asking you to prove that they still matter more than your well-being, that they're still important enough for you to betray your own needs, your own goals, your own peace. And if you fall for it, Jung warned, you risk losing everything you've worked so hard to reclaim. Carl Jung said that the most dangerous part of manufactured vulnerability is that it feels so real. The narcissist might genuinely be in crisis, but Jung discovered that they're experts at choosing which crisis to share with you and when. They have other people they could call, other resources they could use, but they come to you because they know you're the one who's most likely to sacrifice your boundaries to help them. It's not that you're the only option. They simply know you're the safest option. You're the one who has always had a soft spot. You're the one who still cares, even after everything. And that's exactly why they appear at your door, figuratively or literally, in their darkest hour. They choose you because they're counting on your empathy to override your self-protection. They know your heart, and unfortunately, they've learned how to use it as a tool against you. But this begs the question, how do you protect yourself from this final manipulation without becoming cold or indifferent? According to Carl Jung, the answer lies in a concept he called differentiated compassion. This is not detachment, it's not cruelty. It's the powerful ability to care deeply while maintaining clarity and healthy distance. You can feel empathy for someone's pain without feeling obligated to heal it. You can witness someone's chaos without inviting it back into your life. Jung said it best, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So when a narcissist tries to pull you back into old dynamics, whether through nostalgia, guilt, or a fabricated crisis, pause and ask yourself, is helping them helping me become who I truly am? Or is it dragging me back into a version of myself I've outgrown? Because here's where Jung's insights become truly transformative. His final observations about narcissists don't just explain their behavior, they expose what they fear most. Carl Jung discovered that narcissists fear your strength, not because it harms them directly, but because it reminds them of something they've buried, their own potential for transformation. It reflects the truth they've worked hard to suppress, that change is possible, but they chose control instead. When you stop shrinking to protect their feelings, when you refuse to dim your light to maintain the connection, you are doing more than setting boundaries. You are becoming a living example of what it looks like to choose authenticity over approval. And that's precisely why they fight so hard to reel you back in. But there's something Carl Jung urgently wanted us to remember. Every time you resist the manipulation, every time you stand firm despite the emotional storm they've created, you're doing more than protecting your peace. You're proving something monumental. Their power over you was never real. It was a story, sustained by your silence, your guilt, your fear, and now that story is coming to an end. Jung emphasized that true strength isn't about being untouched by manipulation. It's about being able to see it clearly, call it by its name, and still choose the path of self-respect. Because in the end, a narcissist's desperate attempts to regain control are not signs of your weakness, they are proof of your growth. The narcissist's final dirty trick only works if you forget who you are. But once you see through it, once you recognize it as a last-ditch attempt to reclaim a power they never truly had, everything changes. You begin to understand that their need to manipulate you is actually evidence of your strength and your freedom. Carl Jung discovered that the moment you stop being controllable is the moment you truly begin living. And no manufactured crisis, no matter how dramatic or convincing, is worth trading that freedom away. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.